Typically, when you think about overhaul mods in Volctario, you probably think of mods like Warptorio 2 or Pyanodons, which change recipes. Warptorio 2 is an overhaul mod, but it uses all vanilla recipes and mostly vanilla buildings. What it overhauls is the Volctario formula. For those who don't know, Warptorio 2 is a mod where you are periodically teleported to a new planet and lose everything you built on the surface of the previous one. The only thing you bring with you is what's built on the warp platform, which you can see on the left here. And I mean everything. If you aren't stood on it when it leaves, it will go without you, leaving nothing but a hole in the ground and a lot of angry biters. Even evolution is reset when you warp. So far, this might seem quite easy if it wasn't for one feature of the warp platform. It outputs a shit ton of pollution. That was with no buildings placed down, and this only increases as time goes on. Even with only 2 miners placed down, they come for me. I realised quickly that with so much pollution reaching the nests already, I can't produce enough ammo to keep fending them off. My immediate answer is to mine it myself. Here's a quick look at the absolute volume of technologies added by Warptorio. A lot of them are upgrades for the platform itself, making it bigger and such. However, some of them are personal buffs such as mining productivity or extra inventory space. Here I'm getting ready to leave, as the hand mining is driving me insane. However, it takes 30 seconds for the warp drive to charge. In this time, a big group of biters approach, so I need to quickly get rid of my furnaces and be ready to fight them. As you can see, they get a little confused in the middle here, as the polluting buildings they came to attack are gone. Even more come to join the fray. And with no ammo left, I'm reduced to hitting them with my pickaxe. Finally, we warp to a new planet and I get straight to work smelting things. The best time to get things done is right after you warp, as the pollution hasn't had time to reach the biter nests yet. Straight away, I set up a little power plant so I could do some research. I begin straight away with automation research, as there's nothing worse in Volctario than handcrafting. After only 4 minutes on this planet, the first attack comes. You might have noticed me take the ammo out of my gun. This is to save it for bigger waves which may soon come. Here, I'm on my phone waiting for research to finish. Sensing my distraction, the biters make the most of it. What's not seen in the video is me dropping my phone on my keyboard when I hear the biter noises. Perhaps this is a punishment for my lack of productivity. Soon though, gun turret research finishes so I can get back to gathering resources. I don't even have enough copper to spare for repair kits. And so begins a key part of early Warptario. I am like a shepherd, and these burner mining drills are my sheep. I must move them around from ore patch to ore patch, and keep a keen eye on them, lest predators pick them off. In all seriousness, if I take my eyes off these for a second, biters will come and blow them up. As they always say, a watched miner never explodes. Here are the aforementioned mining productivity upgrades. They're essential in this mod, as you're always moving your miners around. The productivity makes up for the downtime and extra. I decide we have enough of these resources, so it's time to move the flock. We can never have enough iron in this mod, as the attacks quickly become ridiculously large. Even later into the game, over half of our iron production will go into ammo. Here's the mod list really quick for anyone curious.
Segue? What's a segue?
My time spent mining iron was mostly uneventful, but I'm running low on fuel so I need to move back over to the coal patch. While I'm pottering around gathering coal, probably the biggest attack we've seen so far arrives. I pull up the miners as fast as I can, which isn't very fast. Because of this, we take 1 casualty. I decide to move on, it's not safe for us here anymore. For reasons I'm not entirely sure about, not every planet seems to be affected by alien biomes. Though this one certainly has been, the last one wasn't. With plenty of coal, we can get some serious mining underway. The amount of pollution that the platform produces completely dwarfs anything we can make. Because of this, there's no reason to build small, as the biter attacks will be about the same size either way. Even distribution really is a must-have for this mod. I built some gun turrets while I was on the last planet, so I no longer need to sit and babysit these miners. So while the miners work, I go and mine some rocks to get more coal. The Alien Biomes mod adds a massive amount of rocks, but balances this by making each one of them give less stone and coal. Really, this just makes it an even better waste of time while I wait for resources to accumulate. Eventually, I decide I have enough iron, so I deconstruct the mining setup. I set it back up on some copper, since I'm probably going to need a lot of it for science. Not a massive amount however, so after a few minutes I soon take it apart again. It's time to put those resources to use, so I start to build a science setup. Now that I have a means to defend myself, I have a new goal. The transience of these tiny bases is starting to sap away at me. I need something permanent, something I don't need to tear up every 20 minutes. So I start researching upgrades to my warp platform, hoping that at some point I can move some portion of my base onto it. The biters, however, have different ideas. With an unupgraded warp platform, you only get about 20 minutes before the game forces you to warp. So even though I'm quite comfortable and can probably stay here a bit longer, I'm forced to leave. I do try to research for as long as feasibly possible though. You can see the first upgrade to the warp platform here. As you can see, it's quite a bit bigger. The hazarded out areas are where buildings will go later when we research them. Also, I feel like Warptorio 2 can have a strange interaction with alien biomes sometimes, as this planet seems to be completely bare. To begin with, I continue to research. I eventually decided it's safe to leave the research setup on its own, so I go to set up some mining. While I'm there, an upgrade for the warp drive finishes. The most notable effect that this has is that it lets me stay there for extra 10 minutes on any given planet before I'm automatically warped. The next research that finishes is something called the warp factory floor. You can see it here, a weird building on the platform. It's essentially an extra floor beneath the platform, which I can build on and comes with us when we warp. As you can see from the corpses in the bottom right, attacks have begun. While watching my miners, I hear the destruction noise and fear the worst. However, as it turns out, a group of biters had valiantly banded together to destroy a chest full of stone. How will I ever recover from this? Our next research is a warp platform upgrade, seen here. The attacks are becoming quite large now, even managing to get a couple hits on our buildings. At this point, we've been here so long that biter evolution is approaching 30%. This means that medium biters and small spitters are mixed into the attacks. Even more pressingly, despite the recent upgrade to the warp drive, the warp platform is going to automatically warp in 2 minutes, so we need to get ready and skedaddle. Disappointingly, this one seems to also be unaffected by alien biomes. This planet is a rare one. It's an island, completely devoid of any biters, but also completely lacking resources. The best I can really do is just research until my resources run out. I'll skip that, because it's quite boring. All you need to know is that I researched some physical projectile damage and some mining productivity. You can tell when the next planet's going to be an alien biomes one, because it pauses like this to generate it. And oh boy is this a good one, completely volcanic. I love this mod. I mean, just look at the surface here, weird greens and blues, there's just nothing like this in vanilla. The attacks start quite early this time, with only 3 minutes on the planet. Once I decide I have enough coal, I move on to mining resources again. I'm quite fortunate that it's generated this way, as I can defend both mines with the same set of turrets. I meet this attack halfway to try and weaken it a bit. It's important to remember, however, that turrets are the most efficient for killing biters. This is because any damage upgrades you research, they get twice. So the physical damage upgrade we researched earlier not only gave an upgrade to the bullets damage, but also the turret damage. With some resources gathered, I get red science back on the menu. And finally research green science. A lot of the most important warp upgrades are found in the green science era, which we'll see some of later in the episode. These biters seem to get quite confused by that rock. The pile of bodies around these mines are getting quite large. I need to be careful to make sure I'm not using too much iron. Here's a look at the newly upgraded factory floor. I'm getting ready to move all of my science production and consumption down here. It's completely safe from biters down here, so the only things I need to protect are what I leave on the surface, which at this point is basically just mining and power production. While I wait for the platform to warp, I set up the surface portion of my base. This is our first big move towards something more permanent. This is what I end up with. The pipes as walls serve two purposes. While its purpose is obviously for defence, it also works as a water buffer for the boiler if the water pipes are ever disconnected. This is really convenient as it means I can connect the water pipes from any direction. On the factory floor, I'm getting ready to make some green science. But on the surface, the biters are really starting to react to my presence. Strictly speaking, most planets are around the same difficulty in Warptorio. However, factors to do with the terrain generation can affect how large and how frequent attacks are. This appears to be one of those planets where the terrain generation has made it a bit harder. This culminates in probably the biggest attack we've seen so far. Those numbers are insane. I need to distract them, just so they don't tear through our walls. For obvious reasons, I'm choosing to leave now. Hopefully, the next planet will be a bit more forgiving. Another non-alien biomes planet. You can tell which ones are alien biomes planets because they have shallow water, which is weird white water that you can walk on. Here you can see me connecting my base to water. I will often forget to do this later. We start with the usual business of mining. Don't worry, it's not going to be this tedious forever. This appears to be a slightly easier planet than the last one, as it's taken over 5 minutes for the first attackers to arrive. Once they start coming though, it can only get worse from there. It isn't long, however, before these attacks start getting quite large again. Maybe this planet wasn't so much easier after all. The piles of bodies are getting ridiculous now. It's time to leave again already. I'm inside when we warp this time. Yet another barren planet. Also, I forget to plug in my water before I leave the base here. By the time I realise, I'm almost 3 minutes into this planet. But thanks to the water buffer, power's still running. The biters aren't usually drawn towards these small mining outposts. However, if it happens to be in between a nest and the warp platform, it can be subject to a barrage of massive attacks. Here, you can see a new staircase has appeared on the factory floor. We'll have a look down there later. Again, I'm busy working underground when the platform warps. The surface is yet again barren. Also, I forgot to bring in my water pipes before I warped. This is going to be a continuous problem. However, there is an upgrade locked behind blue science which adds a water source inside the warp platform. As inconvenient as they are, there's a real satisfying look to burner mining setups. Clearly, the biters don't agree. This setup's almost getting more attacks than my actual base. We're using a lot of ammo, so I decided to leave while we still can. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but there is very little downside to warping. While the downsides to staying are obvious. We've landed on a peaceful planet again, so it's a perfect time to get some work done on the base. To begin with, there's a new arm on the left side of the harvester floor. This is a harvester platform, which we'll see more of when I actually end up on the planet with resources. The next floor down is the boiler floor. This is where our power production is going to go. At the moment, we're pumping water from the surface down here. However, eventually, this is where that interior water source I was talking about later will be located. Next, it's time to renovate the factory floor. To begin with, we're placing down furnace stacks. This is our first big step towards moving away from burner mining setups. Iron we produce will be automatically turned into bullets which can be delivered to the gun turrets on the surface. For anyone who doesn't know, those chests next to the elevators share their inventory with the chest on the other side of the elevator. That means if I put bullets into that chest, they'll appear in the chest on the surface. The final thing to renovate is the surface portion of the base. There's a lot of platform here and we aren't really using it. Firstly, I expand the wall right out to the edge of the platform. Then of course, we need turrets. Also, as you can see, this circular ammo belt is fed by the factory below. This will make it very easy to top this place up on ammo. Also, here's a quick look at the power setup built on the boiler floor. Finally, it's time to leave with an entirely different base to what we had when we arrived. Here's a look at the harvester platforms I was talking about. It's a bit bare. That's better. To move these, I just have to pick up the lab in the middle and it picks up all the miners and the turrets with it. When I put it down on the other side, it'll place them down too. The lab in the middle also works as an elevator, so I can walk straight into the harvester floor. We eventually end up with 2 of these harvester platforms. The splitters you can see in the background here sort what comes in from the harvesters. Stone is taken away just to be put in a chest, coal goes up to a power plant or down to fuel the furnaces, and iron and copper are put in as input for the furnaces. Here's me picking up the platform. I can't seem to find anything but coal however, so we'll need to go to a new planet to get some use out of them. Here's me putting the platform back down. After 3.5 hours, our first automated smelting stack. Most of this is going to ammo, but anything that's left over is going to go to those buffer chests at the end. Now that we've finished that massive undertaking, it's time to get back to what really matters, science. The long, narrow corridors of the harvester floor are perfect for hand-fed setups. Slowly, our ammo reserves are growing. Once I've decided I have enough iron, I move it over to a copper patch. Eventually, we'll have 2 harvester platforms, which will make balancing resources a bit easier. Until then, however, this is all still not as automatic as I'd like. We really don't need a massive amount of copper, however, the more I get now, the longer it'll be before I need to mine it again. Also, the extra mining productivity upgrades are really noticeable now. Our 7 miners with mining productivity of 50% produce the same amount as 10.5 miners with 0% productivity. For the first time in this entire playthrough, I feel like our base is stabilised. Despite this, we don't want to waste too much iron, so we move on. Straight away I got to place down my harvester. The best place to put them is far away from the base, so the only attacks they get is the ones caused by their own pollution. However, without a car, getting that far away is a waste of time, so for now the best I can do is keep the turrets well stocked. It can get quite boring waiting around though. For this reason I'm going to put down a burner mining setup, so at least feeding it can give me something to do. I'd like to reiterate that even distribution is an absolute must for this mod. You might ask what it is we're waiting for. Our problem is that to automate research we need more space, but to get more space we need to research. So we're stuck handcrafting in these cramped setups. This is a lovely part of the game, affectionately called hand feeding hell. I got to check on our harvester and find it surrounded by this absolute massacre. It's clearly right between some nests and the warp platform. However, I really need the iron, I don't want to go find more, so I'm going to leave it here. A little restock should suffice. Not like it really matters, because soon afterwards I decide to leave. You can see on the lake the effect that the pollution from the platform has. We arrive on yet another peaceful planet. However, since it has no resources and our buffer's almost empty, there's no point staying here, so we leave. Again, to burn away the time, I set up a little burner mining setup. I'm about to get another big research in the works. You might think our harvester floor looks a bit lopsided with just one arm, and you'd be right, so I'm going to research the other one now. This is going to double our resource acquisition rate, as well as allowing us to harvest 2 resources at the same time. The burner mining is great and all, but it's really just more things to defend. Plus, once the second harvest is finished researching, we'll have more resources than we'll know what to do with. Easily the most annoying part about building these things is that you can't place the drills until it's on an ore patch. I wish this was just a setting you could turn off. Maybe I want to place useless drills. I'm going to go split it across this coal and copper patch. We don't need lots of either, so it just makes sense to do both at the same time. For such a small platform, I think 7 drills is the most you can fit on it, however I'd love to be proven wrong. Of course, this isn't the biggest that the platforms get, and we can upgrade them in time. The most satisfying part of building in Factorio is the long atmospheric shots at the end of everything working. It's quite tranquil down here, unlike on the surface. And after enough waiting and long atmospheric shots, we get to where we are now, with a self-sufficient base at the precipice of the next part of the game. We've made a base that survives, but next we need to make one that thrives, where the science goes to the lab by belt, not by hand, and where the walls are automatically fixed, and where we measure production science per second, not seconds per science. But all that will have to wait until next time.